All right, welcome back in, everyone. New episode of Modern Symposium. Going to be doing some more hot topics that we see in the news, just kind of airing some personal grievances, maybe. I've got a couple issues with some things I've been seeing recently. I'm sure Richie has the same. It's kind of an informal one we got going today. Just going to go over some different topics, give our opinions on them. Any life updates, Richie?
Nothing much. We got a somewhat of a Friday Funday episode here today.
Yeah,
Hopefully, nothing. I haven't been keeping up too much with the news. I haven't seen much going on
yeah.
that has really caught my attention. My favorite story since we've done the last podcast is the Sydney Sweeney, being literal Hitler now too. So it's pretty good to see that more and more people are becoming Hitler. Even it started off with the president of the country, and then leaked down to some other politicians, and now it's gotten all the way down to the hot chick from Euphoria, who who is now also Hitler. So that's good.
All right,
Do you want to start off by running through that one real
so
quick?
that's where we're starting today off. All right, Friday fun day for sure. Yeah, I was pretty shocked when when I saw this one. People are if anyone by chance hasn't somehow seen that and you're watching our podcast somehow, I'll tip the cap to you. But yeah, people are claiming that it was American Eagle, right? I think.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
American Eagle trying to sell some jeans. They
American
made a pun.
Eagle's trying to sell some jeans. So, what's the most classic move in the business if you're trying to sell some clothes? It's put an attractive person in your clothes and tell them that you like the clothes. Now, the joke that some people are claiming is a eugenics dog whistle is Sydney Sweeney has great genes. And there's the audio that I've heard all over TikTok. It's, Sydney Sweeney's raspy voice, like, uh, genes are passed down from parents to offspring. And people are going crazy with it, saying that it's promoting some sort of, as Richie said, Hitler, Aryan race, eugenics shit. I don't buy it. I think that's an extreme overreaction, and I think that one's just kind of silly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really seen any mainstream news organizations running with
I
that.
think
It's
this is
mostly
mostly
been
a
like some
social media
pink
thing.
It's been like pink hairs on TikTok, I think mostly, but um and then of course like all you need though is a couple. It's because of everyone looks at the left as one entity and the right as one entity. So you get a couple crazy people out there that go and start saying stuff on the internet, and then the entire right-wing media conglomeration can jump on that and be like, "Hey, look, see, this is the left. Look how crazy they are. Come to our side." And just use it, and that happens both ways. But yeah, this was a kind of a ridiculous one because it's like almost so much of a stretch where it's hard to even sell. Where there used to be, I remember when in Trump's first presidency, they were doing stuff like this all the time, and it used to be kind of cringe at the time too, but it was at least a little bit more sellable. They packaged it in a way where it was like, yeah, you can kind of see it maybe. They would try to accuse everything of being subtly racist and subtly sexist and all this stuff where it was like, all right, maybe, but I don't know. It's not, doesn't seem that obvious that that was their intention. But this one, it seems like a total stretch.
And dude, here's a weird one, a little offshoot of this one that I've seen. I've seen a lot of like women creators being mad at this for like Sydney Sweeney like objectifying herself essentially. And like I don't really get that either. If I looked like Sydney Sweeney, this is what I'd be doing, right? Like in the same breath, like people will, say like congratulate like OnlyFans people, right? Like which I'm totally fine with too, right? Like, if you want to sell pictures of yourself online, fucking more power to you, right? Like again, if I was good looking enough to do it, I'd probably be doing it because I'd rather have that stream of income than slaving away like 40 hours, right? Like that's seems like a no-brainer in my book. But like, all right, so you're cool with like sex work, you're cool with OnlyFans, but like Sydney Sweeney going on a show and promoting blue jeans, like that's where you draw the line. I don't know.
Yeah, well, because it was super racist because she said jeans. She said the thing about the jeans, so it was super racist. Just like how, couple examples that come to mind, but not really. I'm sure there was plenty more, but I can think of. I remember everyone was saying we have to stop calling the biggest bedroom in the house. We have to stop calling it the master bedroom because
Uh,
that's racist. People were saying that math was racist at some point. There was something about that math being
math is
racist.
racist.
Yeah, they got rid of the Aunt Jemima syrup. Remember that one? That was a big
Uh,
one. There was all these types of things, and I feel like it disappeared for a while, and now this might be the first of many to become a trigger for like the far left radicals who try to find racism and everything.
do you remember why math was racist? I'd like to hear the
Math was, I
line of
can't
thought on
remember
that
why.
one.
Let me see if I can find something here.
But
Math.
while you look that up, I'll tell this story as well. I was talking to my boss actually about the my manager about this Sydney Sweeney ad, and he's like, dude, I don't get it. He's like, American Eagle, their next ad, they should just get some like smoking hot black chick on there and be like, yeah, see, Zendaya has great genes, you know, like, what, what's the big holdup here? I don't know.
Yeah, that would be what I do if I was the CEO of American Eagle. But yeah, it's so I asked ChatGPT. It says the claim was that concepts like two plus two equals four, precision or objectivity were part of a white supremacy culture. That sentence in itself seems kind of racist. I've got this link to a University of Georgia research insight. I think this might have been what sparked the debate back in I think it was 2017. But it's looking at like it's basically just making things up, looking at like the number of math MTOCs, math teachers of color, and it's saying that it's pretty low. I don't know. It goes on and on about it's some like very complex study about how math turned out to be racist.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. I don't know.
Okay.
It's all kind of nonsense.
Yeah. Uh, I'm about done with that topic. If you want to move on to the
Yeah,
next, yeah. All right.
I got nothing left on that.
So here's one I think's more interesting for sure. There's a bill that got passed in the UK, and I think it's getting brought up into the House and Senate in America. I believe Australia is starting to pursue similar legislation as well. But essentially, what it is, it's a Save the Children Act, which I said to Richie right before we started this. You always gotta watch out for that. Richie called it a "don't kick puppies" bill, right? You call it something so incredibly like acceptable and inoffensive that people can't really like look deeper at it. But what it is it's more restrictions on the internet. It's, you know, less free speech essentially is what it's going to come down to. What they want to try to do is force everyone on almost all social medias. I haven't explicitly seen it for like X or like Instagram or Facebook, but I have seen it for like Discord, Reddit, um, Twitch, like a couple other ones, like big, huge outlets where people share thoughts and ideas. They want to force you to upload a picture of your government issued ID to ensure that you're not an underage kid viewing content you're not supposed to be viewing. Right off the bat, I fundamentally disagree with this. It is not up to the government to decide like exactly the type of media that your kids should be watching, right? Perfectly fine with like ratings, like this is R rated, right? So like that just gives you like parents like an overall broad framework of what to expect in this movie, right? And then it'll tell you like nudity, language, violence, right? Like okay, I don't think my 6-year-old should be like viewing this, right? That is like kind of what the idea behind some of these like age restrictions are. But it's all should be up to parents, in my opinion. That is where like the information stream should be coming from. It should not be dictated by our centralized governments. Got anything to hop on with there?
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It's the idea of the Protect the Children Act, like you said, they do this a lot too, where always be cautious when you hear a name like that. Yeah, like I call it the Don't Kick the Puppies Act, and it's like a government can pass a bill, and it's called Save the Puppies, and then in that bill they're gonna take all your rights away, and you no longer have the freedom to speak out against the government, and we're going to take all of your guns and weapons, and we're going to mandate you to do harsh labor in a gulag every Saturday. But if you don't like the bill, if you talk out against it, then that means that you must hate puppies because it's called the Save the Puppies bill. And that's kind of what this is. It's like if you speak out against it, it's like, oh, so what? You want kids to be victims of online, whatever,
Right,
online
right.
harassment, stuff like that. And it's like, well, first of all, I think, like you said, it shouldn't be the central government's job to be the parents of these kids. Are the tools available for parents to monitor and protect their kids from seeing certain content on the internet? Absolutely, it is. If you are on the same phone plan or same internet plan as your parents, say you're a 12-year-old, 14-year-old kid, like they 100% have the ability to restrict what you see. They can see your history. They can, they can't be looking over your shoulder 24/7, but those tools are available. At what point are we going to put that on the parents and say, okay, well, look, if you are going to let your kid go on their phone, that you know what the internet is, there's things on there. You can set it up so that they can't see it, but that's up to the parents. The government can't do that. I think it's ridiculous. Is this a bipartisan thing? Do you know? Do you
I
know?
do. I do know it has support on both sides of the aisle. So here, that's another thing that should probably draw immediate red flags. It's a horrible realization to have, but anytime something's about to get passed that like, oh, the left likes this and the right likes this, it's gonna
Then it
fuck
must
us
be
over.
really bad.
It must be
It
really
must be real.
bad. Yeah. There's no way this is
That's
good for
hilarious.
anyone.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. I know that they've been doing that in certain states. And it's one thing too, if they wanted to say like, okay, sites that are designed or at least mostly used for mature content, like OnlyFans, if they want to say, okay, you got to show an ID to get on
Yeah,
OnlyFans, okay,
yeah,
fine. But
right.
if we're talking about YouTube or something, that's just ridiculous because there's a lot of content. I mean, YouTube can be used as a very helpful tool for
Educational. Yeah.
also, what the hell are
YouTube
we talking
Kids.
about here? Yeah, yeah, exactly. Also, aren't these the same people who have been going on for like a year talking about how we shouldn't need ID to vote because a lot of people in people of color or people in impoverished communities can't afford ID, but now all of a sudden, so we're just going to take the internet away from them because they can't upload an ID now. What's going on?
That's
What?
fun.
Come
Funny.
on.
No ID to vote, but ID to watch Carlos Boozer highlights on
Yeah,
YouTube. On YouTube.
what the hell is this?
That's crazy. And yeah, there's literally YouTube Kids, an app separate from YouTube, designed for kids already. If you really are that concerned, just why don't you have them going to YouTube Kids? Dude, this harkens back to like even a decade ago. I think this has lost a lot of steam, just even more so maybe just because they've gotten way more popular. But I remember back in like high school, before high school, all the rage was violent video games, right? Like you shouldn't let your kids play Call of Duty because it normalizes violence and they're going to grow up to be like serial killers or worse in the US Army.
Yeah, I mean it's absolute nonsense. I think that's a principle that we could probably both agree on is that anytime all of a sudden the government comes out and they're like, "Oh yeah, we suddenly care very much about the mental health of the kids," even though we've been shoving amphetamines in their mouth since they were 5, and we don't let them outside, and we poison their food, but now all of a sudden we care very much about their safety, and so we need to take all of this power to censor and restrict the content that's being distributed. I think that anytime that happens, we can safely say that something is up,
And
that something's going on.
it's so plainly writ that it's just about censorship. It's about them being able to see exactly who is watching what type of information, how to block certain types of information from reaching certain groups of people. Like it that's all it is.
Yep. Censorship, surveillance, it's all
Yeah.
just more power over information is power over the populace. So it's whatever they can get their hands on, just more data, and data is value now. So it's basically just, yeah, it's data extraction, it sounds like.
It is, absolutely. I like the censorship or no, the what was the other word you just used? Not censorship.
Um, shit, I can't remember.
Whatever. Great segue into the next point I had for it, which was apparently facial recognition software is like getting so insane that anytime you go out on a walk, anyone who has those Ring doorbells, all of that video is being sent straight to Amazon. Amazon's fucking packing it away in their massive data centers that they're building. So they have information on where you walk at all times. And not only is this like Ring doorbells, anytime you're in a grocery store, I saw this video saying essentially they can tell based off your like body language, where your eyes are looking, things like that, if you're gonna shoplift. They can tell based off like past like data that they have on you which aisles you're about to walk into. Even so, they can tell if you're spending a little extra time in the pharmacy section, you're going to start getting ads for like prescription drugs because
Really?
they could
Wow.
tell, oh, you spent 5 minutes in the pharmacy section. You usually walk right past that one. Something must be up with you. Let's send them some ads targeting that exact thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I know, so in, I believe it was 2008 or 2012, I can't remember, but I did read about, so the Olympics were held in Beijing, and it was when China was really on the rise, and they were trying to kind of make a new name for themselves on the world stage. And President Xi had this campaign to really get the city, looking fantastic for the Beijing Olympics. Part of that was security. And I remember reading that I want to say it was 2012 or it was 2008 or 2012, but they had it so that every single square foot of the entire public space of Beijing, so there was nowhere you can hide in public in Beijing and not be monitored live by these smart cameras that had like facial recognition technologies and stuff like that. And it was all Huawei, their big tech company. And that was like, I think the start of now where that's becoming more and more normalized everywhere. It started off in Beijing. That was the first big city to have this type of like surveillance system, and it was supposed to be just for the Olympics. Obviously, when the Olympics are over, they're not going to get rid of it. They're going to keep it. And so now I think most big cities in China have it, and I'm sure most big cities, if they don't already have it, they're damn close. Or anything company owned, every Amazon truck, every Ring doorbell, like you said, anywhere that's like a big corporation owns it. I'm sure that you're being monitored not just by cameras. It's an entirely different technology than a camera. It's computer vision. So it's taking every single pixel as a data point all the time. And that's, I mean, part of the reason why we can generate AI images is because of that. It's because of how much of those images they've taken in as data. They can now output them, and they know exactly what people are referring to just by typing in, give me a picture of a dog or something. They know exactly what that is.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up for the past like 10 years, feel like probably ever since that Beijing Olympics, people have been ragging on China as being a surveillance state, right? It's like, oh, like think about how oppressed they are there, right? Like they're watching their people. It's like, well, at least they're being open and honest about it, right? At least like the citizens know that they're being watched, right? Here it's like we kind of have our heads in the mud a little bit. It's like, oh, like that would never happen here. It is happening here. It's just we don't know exactly what the extent of it is.
Yeah, and I think that part of the difference too is I don't know if this is true actually, but it seems like a lot of it is not government based. I'm sure a lot of it is like if you're walking on the street and they've got the streets monitored in big cities, that's the government taking it. But a lot of it is companies taking it here. Where in China, it's like the central government is the one with all of the taking in the data at the end of the day. Where I think here it's not even so much the government. It's also a lot of like big companies. And I mean, think about like the Tesla cars. Like the whole reason that they're going to be able to drive themselves if they're not already able to is because that they're monitoring and taking in data all the time while driving down the street. I mean, I would be highly surprised if you can even walk a block down Chicago, anywhere in Chicago right now, and not have some type of smart technology monitoring you. Like there's no way to really get off the grid,
No.
whether it's there's this rather than just one entity doing it. There's just like all of these constant like different companies who are just constantly taking in your data, basically fighting for your data, and it's even crazier. It seems like.
Well, here's the thing is I would agree. I think it is more private companies doing it here than like our government, just having like whatever these cameras up constantly watching you. But that being said, the government can get all of that data from any of the companies anytime it
That's
wants,
true.
right? Like,
Yeah, they do have. Yep,
so
they
when,
can. If they're supposed to have a warrant, but a lot of times they don't go about that way. They go
right,
about it in the way of like, hey, yeah, you know,
please,
we're supposed
like,
to have a warrant,
please,
but
please
we
help.
don't.
Yeah,
But you want to help us out, right? Because
right,
we're the government and
right.
we
You
could
you
shut
want
you
to
down.
you want to help us out, right? Because you already financed 68% of the politicians in the government
Yeah, yeah.
this
They
year.
work for that. We work for you,
We
so.
work for you, so like, well, dude, because here's what I was gonna say. When Luigi Mangione or whatever, when that shit happened, they fucking tracked that dude's movements down to a T. You don't think they got all of that data from every single camera that was on every single block and watched his exact movements, tracked him down like exactly wherever he moved throughout the day? Like that's exactly what happened. They just went straight to these like whoever had a camera up and said like, "Yo, give us that information."
Mhm. Yeah, it's amazing how anyone can get away with any type of crimes, especially like a murder or something in public. I mean, it happens in Chicago all the time. I don't know how everyone's getting away with this because it seems like you're being watched all the time.
Well, dude, that's the high conspiracy of it all is that they don't give a shit about
Yeah, I guess I don't get.
inner city crime. They give a shit when you murder a CEO on the streets. That's when you have the entire police force of New York out to get you. That's when they mobilize and get all of the information against this one fucking guy. And then all the comments on like my side of the algorithm, or at least, are like, all right, then where are all the missing kids? You're able to find this guy in 24 hours. Like, where's all the missing kids that on like the southern border at all the time at all times, right? Like, why can't we solve every murder if it's so easy to just like find this guy who apparently like had this grandmaster plan and had all these like steps to not get caught and was immediately caught.
Yeah, sounds like the Joker in the Dark Knight. You know, it's all part of the plan. But speaking of the missing kids, I don't know for sure whether Trump's on the Epstein list or whatever. You know, if Trump can be, you know, found guilty of anything based on the Epstein files. He's definitely making it seem like it because he's acting very weird about the whole Epstein thing. Suddenly we don't care about Epstein anymore. I thought that was the whole plan from the beginning
Dude,
was to figure
that's
out the Epstein
that's the
stuff.
craziest part of it
But
is he literally ran on I'm dropping these files day one, and then now it's like, wait, we're still talking about this guy? Like who's still
yeah,
in
yeah, who
who's
cares? Who
who's still
cares?
interested in this? It's like, bro, this is like the most objectively interesting thing. Like literally, it's confirmed there is a cabal of elites like performing pedophilic acts on a sex island. That's like the most
Yeah.
interesting thing.
Yeah, now, you know, suddenly all now he's about to come out with the you know, Help Old Ladies Cross the Street Act and it's going to be we're not allowed to talk about Epstein anymore. But yeah, but no, one person that I know for sure is on the list and definitely has a lot of dirt on him once those files come out is fiction author Stephen King. And I think I've sent you this, but Stephen King on Twitter has had nothing but bad things to say about Trump for the last 10 years. Like, no matter what the take is, Trump can do some. Trump pardoned like a bunch of people for like crimes that weren't really crimes. They're, you know, and it's like even that, like all of a sudden Stephen King is like, oh yeah, like that's terrible. There was a bunch of stuff he did in his first term that like everyone could kind of get behind. He had like like the justice system reform, stuff like that, where it was like kind of a left right issue. Stephen King hated that because it was Trump. He said everything Trump does is terrible. And now all of a sudden on Epstein, he's like, yeah, Trump's right. Stop talking about this list. And like all the comments are like, dude, are you on the list? It definitely seems like fiction author Stephen King might be on there.
I said this to you too. If there's like one guy that I would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. He's on there. It's like Stephen King, dude. That dude was railing cocaine for like 20 straight years, I'm pretty sure, just pumping out novel after novel after novel. And then there's weird shit in his books too. Like that like everyone talks about
That's what
like
I
the
heard. I never actually read his books, but
uh
I heard someone saying this. Sorry, that I never actually read the books, but apparently they're different than the movies, and there's a lot of weird shit in them.
well the one thing everyone talks about is in it it's like kids. I don't know how old they are, like 10, 11, 12 maybe, and they like have an orgy in like the sewers, and that's the scene everyone, yeah, it's like weird shit. Everyone, that's the one everyone points to is like, What the fuck you talking about, guy?
Seems a little suspicious. Have you seen a
Uh,
lot of this stuff that's been on the podcast lately about Bill Barr's dad? Attorney General Bill Barr.
yeah.
He was the AG under Trump. Trump and him have a working relationship at the very least. But apparently, so I was listening to this guy on the Tucker Carlson podcast who did like a deep dive investigation of the whole Epstein story. And apparently, Epstein was given this like prestigious job as like a university professor, despite not being qualified. And he was given the job and like kind of protected in the institution by a guy named Donald Barr, who is the father of Bill Barr. And Donald Barr wrote all of these like also fiction stories, but they were basically centered all around like some crazy like pedophilia, like
Yeah.
sexual fantasies,
Oh boy.
and yeah. So and it was like, yeah, that's Bill Barr's dad. And now you just like the amount of connections between all of these like elitist politicians or like top kind of lobbyists and people running the show. It seems just kind of insane that they're doing this. It'd be one thing if like some like the weird crackhead that from the neighborhood is writing these weird stories, but if it's like it's like the top, it's like the attorney general or like the attorney general's family and stuff, makes it a little bit weird.
Dude, have you gone down any rabbit holes about like secret societies at like Ivy League schools?
A little bit. I mean, not too far. But I mean, what I know about like was it like is it Skull and Bones or something
Yeah,
like
dude,
that?
I was gonna bring that one up. That one's at Yale, I'm pretty sure. And it's like some super small, like it's like a fraternity. I think it might actually be a fraternity. It's essentially a fraternity. If it's not that, it's a secret society, which how do you call yourself a secret society? And like everyone knows about you. But dude, I think it
Yeah.
was I forget what year it was, but I think it was Bush's like first election. Whoever Bush was going up against, they were both skull and bones men. So like no matter who won the presidency that year, like this secret society guy was going in, and there. Think about that, like groups of like I'd say like what like 12, 15. I think is like a group sizing for like each year that they have these, and both of these people were just influential enough to become presidential candidates in the same year.
No, yeah, I mean it's I'm not that surprised because it does seem like that's the thing. Like you go to an Ivy League school, Ivy League schools probably have, I don't know, but say they have, a dozen or so different frats, maybe more. And then, each of those fraternities or secret societies, whatever they want to call them, they're pretty much the same thing. But it's like these are like the top schools, the top social networking organizations. And so it's like it is kind of that. It's not so much like, okay, I needed to graduate top in my class. That's how I become the president, or that's how I become a top politician. It's more along the lines of like, I need to have the most relationships of all these different people who are they're all at Yale or they're all at Harvard. So we know they're all going to get these top positions somewhere. And I'm just friends with all of them. And so I can just really just network and wheel and deal and rise to the top that way. I feel like there's so much of that going on where we'd be so much better off if we had like the top people at all these different schools who didn't know each other, who we can then, actually have like the people who are good at what they're doing, who actually understand geopolitics like the best in the country. We want the president to be this person who understands all these systems the best, not the guy who is owed favors by the most people.
Uh-huh. Dude, I watched this video once on like the selection process for these secret societies, and it was actually pretty interesting. It's like they take like 12 people every like class, right? So they'll take like the kid with like the highest GPA, and they'll try and recruit. They'll try and recruit like the best athlete, male and female, right? They try and recruit like the best like political like guy on like the student government board, male and female. They'll try and recruit like the best like business student or like the most connected business student, like the best like medical student, and then they always take one random person, like just like one wild card essentially. And I just thought that, dude, imagine getting the
That
bid.
is pretty
Imagine
good.
getting the
That'd
bid
be,
as like the random. It's like holy shit! Like I got
yeah, yeah.
I got this
You're
bid. It's
rolling
like
up like, yo.
what's up?
That's
What's up? Bush, Vanderbilt,
yeah,
Carnegie. It's like
that's
hey what up? Yeah, like
that's pretty funny. That would be a hilarious like Will Ferrell movie or something. Just
Oh,
being like the
that is pretty good.
but so so these is it? I guess it's different than like a fraternity. Then it's not just like if they're actually like picking for individual slots. It kind of seems like they're assembling like a team of Avengers to try
Yes,
to be like the baddest group in town,
that's
basically.
exactly what they're doing. They're trying to, like you said, when you had just brought up like different schools or whatever, like their top people, if they could like get together, that's kind of what they're trying to do within their own school. It's like, all right, we're trying to get like 12 of like the smartest, most influential like people, like again, like athletes too, right? Like, all right, so this athlete probably isn't going to become like a mayor or whatever, but he holds incredible sway on campus, right? Like
Yeah,
the quarterback of the football team, like he's not like gonna most likely like grow up to be like some like power player in DC, but he is a pretty fucking important person right now, like
yeah, no, yeah, and even just having, if you're the number one athlete, you're probably going to the pros, and then just getting having a little influence. I mean, it's the gladiator battles of the Roman Empire, which are basically used to kind of just keep the masses entertained so that they don't sit around and talk politics and then rebel. So it's still kind of an important societal function as well, even though. So, if you're, it
right.
doesn't seem like Tom Brady is like really changing the culture of society, but it's kind of is.
Tom Brady, insane guy. That guy might be in like the Illuminati or something. I could see that.
Yeah, right.
That guy. That
Or
guy.
the even
That guy's a
more so than the athletes, probably the or sorry, more so than the athletes, probably like the artists, like musicians. I bet they have like so much cultural influence.
yeah. Brady is actually like immortal. I don't know. That guy like gets younger and hotter every year. It makes no sense.
Yeah,
Makes
yeah, that's some secret society shit
it
right there
is.
for sure.
All right.
Have you seen the Bohemian Grove, that stuff? That
Yeah.
was when I first started looking into it. Alex Jones is going on about Bohemian Grove. That was kind of crazy, where they're all just like it'll be all these grown men. They're all billionaires, and they're all just like gathering in the woods to partake in these like crazy rituals where they're like making like fake babies out of sticks and then like burning them and stuff like that.
Yeah, they like burn
Kind of
burn
weird.
effigies and stuff like that. And
Yeah, yeah.
half the stuff you read's probably like false, and then like there's probably half the shit that's like way crazier that these people actually do that you have like no idea about.
Yeah. Then you wonder why the boomers are all thinking that like the Clintons are drinking the blood of children and stuff like that. And it's like, well, they see this and then it breaks their brains. They don't know what to believe. They start believing whatever they see.
Speaking of on the Epstein list, Bill Clinton. Gotta be.
Yeah. I mean, didn't they have a picture of him in a dress in the Epstein house?
Oh yeah, that's a
I
thing.
thought it was that, but I feel like I might
They
be.
have no, I think that is. They have some like watercolor like portrait of like Bill Clinton in like a satin dress or something.
See if I could pull it up. Yeah, yeah. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, it's just a painting. It's not like an actual picture,
Yeah,
but it's still kind of nuts.
yeah.
See if I can share this real quick. I'll add it. I'll throw it in there after. But yeah,
Throw
he's
it in there
sitting
after.
there in a dress. I guess they found it on. It was just hanging on Epstein wall.
No, I didn't even know the guy. He was just a big fan of me. He had that commissioned totally on his own.
And I think I fell off. Can you still hear me? Oh yeah, I'm back.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But
Uh,
yeah, no, yeah. I
all
saw
right.
somebody post something like, or sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say on to the next one, but finish up, then we'll move on.
I just saw a good comment about how it was like all the pictures of Trump and Epstein. It was like this guy's got more. These two have more pictures together than me and my grandma. Like, yeah, I kind of knew the guy.
That's pretty good. Uh, this one will probably be a quick one, but I know you don't watch like a ton of TV or anything. You probably saw clips more than anything, but did you see the season premiere of South Park?
I didn't actually see it, but I saw the commentary on it. I saw
Yeah,
like people talking about it.
dude. So I'm a huge South Park guy. Here's what's crazy about South Park is back when South Park was at its peak, there was a thing called in like politics, like people would consider themselves like a South Park Republican, right? What does that mean? That means like you're a Republican in the fact that I think I should be allowed to basically say anything, make fun of anyone, call out any of the bullshit, right? Like back when South Park was at its peak, it like I think the left like hated it because it was not politically correct, because they would call out like religion and like current events and anyone and anything that they felt like needed to be called out, right? South Park's now further to the left in some, and definitely some aspects. Um, I think what was most funny was Cartman declares woke is dead. He's like, dude, you can say anything you want. He's like, you can. And I don't even know if I should be saying these things on the podcast, but like, he's like, you can call people anything and no one gives a shit anymore. He's like, nothing matters anymore. So Cartman's all depressed because like he can't be that edgy guy like calling people out because that's what like everyone's doing. PC principal turns into power Christian principal. He's all about bringing religion into the classroom now.
That's kind of
It's
funny.
pretty hilarious. They show like they have Trump in a callback to Saddam Hussein. He's like banging the devil because Saddam Hussein in the early seasons was banging the devil. So now they have him and the devil in cahoots. But the funniest part about it is right before this season drops, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators, they got they got a 4 year extension, Richie, with Paramount. Guess how much money they got?
I heard it. I can't remember what it's in the billions, I know.
$1.5 billion
Yeah.
for a four
Yeah.
year contract. The first episode they do, they just fucking rail against Trump. They rail against Paramount in the episode, dude. They have Jesus Christ come down, and Jesus Christ is like, guys, like, I'm being censored right now. He's like, Paramount is making me say these words. They just come out in typical South Park fashion. Fuck you, Paramount. Fuck you, Trump. We're doing whatever the fuck we want. So I'll tip the cap
It's
to
pretty
them.
good.
It wasn't a good episode of South Park, like in
Yeah,
terms
I
of,
heard it was not that funny, but
in,
I didn't hear those parts. I heard about Trump banging the devil. The PC
yeah,
principal turned into the power Christian principal is
yeah,
actually hilarious.
that one's pretty good. But like,
That
it's
is
not
pretty good.
like the story is. They're like literally like might not have been a story. It was mostly just like, fuck this, fuck Trump, fuck what's going on right now. But so I'll tip the cap to him in that aspect. I'm a big South Park guy, but that's about all I have on
Yeah,
that one.
I've never been a huge South Park. I've never been big on South Park. I've seen, some of the, better episodes. Like I've definitely seen. Um, the that is such a great joke too because I think the power Christian on the right it's the right's equivalent of the politically correct guy on the left. I feel like those are the same people on both
Hmm.
sides. It's like looking in the mirror. It's the people who are on the left who are policing speech. Oh, you can't say this, and you got to use the right pronouns. There's all this kind of crazy stuff. And then you've got like the people on the right who are that exact equivalent are the people who are like they think we should combine church and state back again and bring Jesus into the classroom. Those are the same people. So that's
Yeah,
a pretty good joke.
yeah. Uh, so this one I didn't mention in the show doc to you, but I just remembered as we were talking. I saw this pretty interesting video. Want to hear your take on it. Basically, the tagline is, in order to save democracy, we have to do away with elections.
I mean,
Here you go. I'll
how
elaborate.
so? How so?
Yeah. So it sounds like complete horseshit, but here's the thought behind it. To be elected, you have to be already very influential, right? If you are getting into politics, you need to have a war chest behind you. You either need to already be rich and influential, or you need to have rich and influential backers. Even if you get into politics broke, you leave politics really rich, right? Like AOC, she like everyone knows she like did like bartending beforehand. She was some broke college kid. Now she's a millionaire, right? How does that happen, right? You're not supposed to be able to do that on a government salary, right? So here's the idea behind it. Instead of elections, wherein we don't really have a choice in an election, it's kind of a facade, right? You have bullshit candidate A or bullshit candidate B, right? And they both represent the same groups of people. It's not like, oh, if you vote for candidate A, you're like getting like the champion of the working class and they're going to fix all these social issues. No, they're just beholden to whatever group of billionaires owns them, right? So instead of elections, it's literally a random lot pull from the U.S. population. Like they pull it from like anyone aged like 25 to like 60. It's like this guy's in the Senate. This guy's in the house.
That sounds like such a terrible idea, dude. Have you seen the people? Have you seen
I,
the people in this country?
I've seen the
I think
people.
that's, I mean, it's a creative idea for sure. I mean, maybe it's a poll. I don't know. I think it's got that's. So what about for the president? Are we polling we polling the president?
Fuck it. I think
I mean,
I think
it
I
would be
would
so ridiculous.
I
I
think
think
I would
ninety nine point
trust
nine 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 percent of people, it seems like that. Like, I get what you mean. I would agree to the point that, like one time it was during the 2020 debate, and obviously I'm a Trump guy, and I was at work the following day after the Trump Biden debate, and it was terrible. And I just kind of was like working with this stranger. I didn't even know the guy, but he definitely seemed like a liberal. But then he was like, "Did you see the debate last night?" And I was like, yeah, I saw it." He's like, "Man, I don't even know you, but I'd vote for you over those two fucking guys." And I feel like that's the point that's making, is that, like, you probably could just find some random guy on the street who's a lot better than either of the candidates that are usually the ones on the
I
ballot.
think I would take a random 35-year-old person pulled off the street over any politician that I know right now.
I mean, kind of, but also it would be there's such a wide spectrum where if it's actually randomly pulled, yeah, I mean, you could get someone in office who wouldn't be able to figure out how to work a cash
Like
register,
Donald Trump, like some guy who has
I
no
mean,
idea what
that's
the fuck he's doing, like
see, I would disagree. I mean,
who
because
has no political acumen, like
so I disagree. I would disagree on that part because, like you said, I would agree more on the first point, which is that you get these people in office who are all self-interested, and they're bought by lobbyists or whoever. Fair enough, but like someone like Trump, like you said, in order to actually run, you have to have the entire war machine behind you. You have to have a lot of money to invest, which is kind of a bad thing, but it does at least make it so that somebody like Trump gets in. We can say that Trump is a bad guy if you want to say that, but to say that he's like a dumb guy who doesn't know what he's doing, I think that's a kind of ridiculous claim. I think he knows what he's doing pretty well. I mean, he's done a insanely good job at, like, building all of these major assets all over the world prior to being in politics. I feel like that is kind of a good thing because it at least, in order to get in, you have to at least have proof that you've done something, which is in our case the money, really.
but here's the kicker. We already have a system like this in place.
Which is
Juries. Juries,
jury. So you're saying,
you get a random
uh,
pull of 12 people, and our law has already decided 12 of your peers can make a life or death decision for you.
yes, which is kind of a crazy idea too, but it does. I mean, the idea behind
It's
that is so that
cemented
it's not in the hands
cemented
of
in
one
law.
person. So yeah, I guess that is a good analogy, because the idea with that is that it's not in the hands of one person to make all these decisions, which is also how our government is supposed to be when everything doesn't get pushed through the form of executive orders, how it's supposed to go through legislation. I mean, that's kind of the same idea there. So it's not in the hands of one person, and it's just creeping more and more into the hands of one person as the years go by, which I agree is the problem. But the random selection is kind of a crazy one.
Who,
I do agree.
who,
I somewhat agree, but realistically, I don't.
who do you think would serve the best interests of the population more? 315 randomly pulled people, or 315 established people who are beholden to whatever lobbyists have already bought them? And I think it'd be the
And
randoms.
I don't know if it would be the randoms, honestly. I don't think that either would be very good, but I think that the people who are beholden to the lobbyists, it, so who are the lobbyists beholden to? The companies, and who are the companies beholden to? The people. So at the end of the day, they still are beholden to the people in some way, but it's just so convoluted that the people don't know. Most people don't understand that chain, and so they don't realize how connected they are. And if they did, then they would be much more beholden to the people. Because they don't, the politicians are able to get away with so much more, and it really just comes down to people not paying enough attention, really.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting though, because I
It
I
is interesting. I
I
will
could
get it's something to think about.
I could see it working, because then you don't have career politicians. There's people are cycled in and out. So all right, you get 315 people in and they do a shit job. All right, they're out next year, and a new group of people are going to be coming in and can, like, cast their own decisions, right? You
I
don't
mean, that is how it is already, though, with the elected politicians. Except that the problem is that if we had term limits,
that
that's definitely step one.
Dick Durbin has run Illinois for decades, dude.
I know, but he's not. It's not because he's the dictator of Illinois. It's because the people keep voting for him. And again, it's just. I mean, but it's like I agree. There should be term limits. Term limits. I think everyone agrees on. I don't know
Yes.
why that hasn't become a thing. Or actually, I do know why. It's
Why
because
hasn't it become a
I'm
thing?
not gonna.
Because you're
Well,
asking
yeah,
you're
I'm not. I'm
asking
not gonna vote
people
to fire myself. Yeah.
exactly.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but no, I mean, the idea, like the sentiment of the idea, I do agree with, but I just think in practice it would not be. I mean, think about like, I mean, you think about some of the people that you could have running things. I know many people who like couldn't run, couldn't run a hot dog stand.
What's the no? Yeah, this is literally like a quote from Oppenheimer. It's the general's interviewing Oppenheimer to see if he's the right fit for the Manhattan Project, and he's like, I heard from one of your colleagues that Oppenheimer couldn't run a hot dog stand. And he's like, you know what? That's right. But I can run the Manhattan Project. I can deliver this miracle for you. It's like, fuck, I don't know. I think I'd rather have the randoms. I'll say it.
I don't know. I mean, Oppenheimer was like
Well,
one
he's
of
a
the
literal
smartest people
genius.
ever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a literal
So
genius. But
what if we did it like, okay, there should be, I could see, how about this? How about this? You can apply to be entered into the lottery, but you have to pass a series of tests,
yeah, yeah,
or, there's got like some type of qualification process that is actually like pretty, selective. In order to get in, you have to pass these tests, and the tests aren't, I have a degree from this place or I worked with this famous guy. No, it's like here is a test, like in
like
front of you. You have
like
to
a
prove that you
a
understand this.
constitutional test, something like that. Yeah,
Yes, and then maybe like a what do you call it? Psychology
yeah,
test to make sure you're not a crazy person. Shit like that. You get through all these, then you can apply, put your name in the bucket, and then the bucket's pulled. That one, okay, now we're
yeah,
talking.
yeah,
That's getting a little closer. All right.
yeah.
I could see it, something like that going down, maybe. That would be pretty good. And then, yeah, you only serve for like a little while,
What one you get 1 year. I mean,
You get one term, yeah.
because
One or
then
two, term,
we
whatever.
we have like all right, we have an entire crop of people coming in next year, right? And again, it's like, all right, you do a shit job. All right, maybe things go poorly for a year. The next group of people can come in and write the actions. Here's another thing that I think everyone can agree on. We need laws to be written in like plain language. There should be like
Yes,
a
absolutely.
maximum like 10 pages max on like a law. Oh, here's a great one. Uh and everyone can I think is gonna would agree with this as well. So it's a TikTok skit. It's like three roommates, right? It's like, all right, I propose this amendment to the house rules. Instead of dividing the fridge space vertically, we divide it horizontally so that everyone has their own layer of the fridge. And the other two guys are like, oh, that makes perfect sense. It's like, all right, everyone, let's vote on it. And it's like, yes, everyone, let's vote on the horizontal fridge space and secret cameras in all of your rooms act. Like, wait, what do you mean about that? He's like, oh, I think we should do the fridge thing for sure, but I also want to add on that I get to install security cameras in everyone's rooms to watch you. And the guy's like, no, we're not throwing that in there. It's like let's just throw that in there. Let's see how it goes. A long way of saying we need to vote things one at a time, not this bullshit like conglomerate of yeah, we're gonna like lower like the tax rate for like poor people, but we're gonna use that money to spend it on like
Yeah,
like
yeah.
bullshit, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't see why we wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, especially because we're gonna have to at some point because it either goes one way or another. It either goes that way or it goes to the point where, which I think we are already at, where most people don't even give a shit about politics because they don't understand what's going on in any of the bills anyway. And when I say most people, that includes the Senate and the House of Representatives and most of our elected officials who don't even know what's in these bills. And so it's like it's just such a crazy, ridiculous kind of idiocracy. It feels like where no one actually knows what's going on. It's the idea of like the deep state. Obviously, I do believe the deep state exists in the form of all these alphabet organizations. Um, but I'm sure they probably are the ones running the show. But it's like if we actually did have a democracy where we elected officials or we even picked them out of a lottery, then the only way that would actually work is if the bills are understandable because the people who are electing the politicians need to be able to understand the bills that they're voting on. They shouldn't be written in this nonsense jargon that only like someone who has a Harvard law degree can make sense out of because then we don't have a democracy anymore. It's like the information layers that where the people don't understand what's going on, therefore the people don't have a say in what's going on. That's
Right.
how it feels, really.
It's 800
Uh,
pages that gets sent out 3 days before the vote. And then it was that thing I think we talked about on the podcast, but like I saw some like Marjorie Taylor Greene tweet like a week after they had voted on this bill that it was the AI one where like no one can put any like inhibitions on AI technology for the next 20 years. And that was just like slipped into the bill that like no one had any idea it was actually even in there, right? It's just crazy that
Yeah, yeah.
they have no
And
idea
that
what
was
they're
like
voting on.
that was a crazy thing to put in there too.
Right.
That was one that you would think would be like headline news, but yeah, it slipped in there. Everyone was talking about like the EV chargers.
Yeah, it
That
was
was like the
again, it was the uh lower taxes and give Sam Altman Friedman unlimited control over everything that he wants bill. Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, shit like that is just getting ridiculous. And that's one thing that like I mean Biden did it and I was annoyed with him doing it and then now Trump is doing it even more and it's like, all right, enough. Stop.
oh, little personal gripe from me, and then we can get into I think our last big one after this. But we've talked about this on the show before. We had our good friend Tommy Lake on to discuss the sports betting culture, and there's some pretty disconcerting news for fans of the NFL. I would say ESPN/Disney has purchased the NFL Network and NFL Red Zone from the NFL. Essentially, what has happened is the NFL now owns 10% of ESPN. The problem there being ESPN has a sports book called ESPN Bet. So the NFL now directly profits off of sports gambling. ESPN was supposed to have journalistic integrity before all of this. They were supposed to be reporters on sports. Now they are the league, essentially. And now the NFL, who, if you're caught gambling in the NFL, they give you like an 8 game suspension. But now they are quite literally directly profiting off of sports betting. So the misalignment of incentives here is pretty evident for basically anyone to see. If they have ESPN report some bogus type of information about, say, the health of a player, like, oh, Christian McCaffrey, he's totally good to go, he's going to be 100%. Christian McCaffrey goes out there and only plays like 20% of snaps, people lose a bunch of money. The NFL profits off of that. It's just a crazy, crazy turn of events. And even the last 5, 10 years, how prevalent sports gambling has become in our society is certainly a degradation of morals in some aspect. And I'm a big sports bettor. I don't look down on anyone for sports betting, but it's just crazy how the people who have harked on for years that I've been like, oh, you're crazy, that it's all rigged. Like Vegas owns the lines. Vegas like knows exactly what's going to happen. I didn't believe it, but now it's like, well, kind of written on the cards.
Yep, that's what I was gonna say too. Is it's not even like the the for profit part of it is kind of an issue too, but the idea that it's ESPN is basically the journalism of sports, and now the journalism is compromised. It's now if they make money based on because they make most of their money based on the gambling books. The gambling books bottom lines are insane. The DraftKings, FanDuel, all these big gambling books are making so much insane amounts of money that it's well beyond what ESPN makes from just airing a sports center and getting ad money. The amount of money being made from ticket sales to games or signing up for subscriptions to these channels that you could watch the games on, all this type of stuff, not even close to how much money the gambling books are making. They're making way more than everyone. gambling is sports now. It's almost interconnected, and it's going to continue to be more and more so, especially now that this deal happened. There will be no such thing as watching sports without gambling. You'd be the guy who was at the bar and not drinking. That's what you're doing if you're watching a game without money on it. That's what the culture is going to become. And yeah, I mean the morality of it. I mean, I don't. That's one thing. I don't know that it's immoral to gamble. It's your own. You
No,
can do
no,
what you
no.
want with your money,
Right.
but it is bad. It's hedonism. It's degeneracy. It's just nonsense. Like it's addicting. There's plenty of problems with them. It's very similar to just drinking or drugs or any of that type of stuff. So I mean, it is just a cultural decay, really. I
Yes,
think.
absolutely. Like my dad, sports better his whole life. He was, I might have said this on the episode with Tommy, I might not have. It's worth repeating. He told me, he's like, Nick, 20 years ago, if you had a bookie, you were a bad person. He's like, it was akin to being a hard drug user or an over the top alcoholic. Like people literally looked down upon you for the fact that you wagered on games. And now it's like you said, they're unseparable. Like ESPN will be showing like, oh, here's the this player's rushing a receiving line as they're airing the program. The fucking sports anchors are giving their favorite picks of the weekend as if like Kay Adams knows anything about like what a good bet is actually supposed to be, right? And it's lunacy now. And in the moral aspect, I agree. I have nothing wrong with sports gambling. I sports gamble, but it is just another aspect of how we can like be losing some young people essentially. Like people are going bankrupt over this, and
Yeah, absolutely.
so
So I was listening to this guy Sagar. He's got a show called I think it's called Breaking Points. He was on Tucker Carlson talking about this issue, and yeah, you did mention that about what your dad said on the one we did with Big Time Tommy, and but the reason I remember it because it did stick with me, and when I was listening to this podcast, I remembered you saying that. But he was talking all about this, and saying how there's a lot of cases going on against these big gambling companies. People are like suing them and stuff, but they're losing because obviously that the gambling companies have all the money for the lawyers. But one of the cases he brought up, which was crazy, was there was this guy who was probably like in his early 30s who had like a wife and a small child, had gambled away on like DraftKings or FanDuel, one of them, gambled away like his house, his car, everything. Like his like marriage was falling apart. He like couldn't his kid like couldn't afford to like feed his kid because he had no money. He was going into all this debt, all these credit cards to keep gambling, and he was clearly addicted. He like never gambled, and then all of a sudden like started and within a year and a half destroyed his entire life, like severe addiction. And they're going and they're looking at the records, and the people at DraftKings and FanDuel, they're on the phone with them or texting them and telling them like he's saying like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to gamble anymore, and they're like, well, why don't you come down to our sports book, check it out, we'll give you $100 free bets, like all this stuff, just to, like getting them roped back in. They keep doing it, and it's like this guy, it's like, and I'm sure there's thousands of people, maybe not to that degree, but there's
right.
thousands of people. I myself have battled with that, where it's like, okay, I've lost a lot of money playing, gambling, and not a lot of money, but like a lot of money for one day, and but it's like I'll catch myself in those loops of only one way to win it back. I got to keep going, and then I'm putting more money in, and then luckily for me, I don't get into the thousands of dollars level of it, and eventually after a couple $100, I'm like, all right, I gotta
Yeah.
stop. But I mean, I can, in that mentality, I can 100% see how some people who are more prone to or more inclined to keep going, I can see how that could be life ruining because it's designed for you to lose. It's not designed for you to win.
It's
It's
as
designed for you to
addictive
lose.
as drugs. Like for some
Yes,
people,
yeah.
it hits that certain part of the brain that it's just that dopamine hit, and it's everything, every single aspect about it. The bright lights, the flashing, the big like when you play the slots, it's like ding 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 ding. That's all playing into like your lizard brain, keeping you hooked on it. Here's a story I don't think I told on the last podcast. My dad only told me this recently back in like the 90s, probably maybe like the early 2000s. I don't know exactly when this was, but my dad has run a fantasy football league for many years, right? And while that is gambling and technically illegal, no one ever like really gave a shit about like, some like people's home fantasy leagues, whatever. One Sunday morning, the cops roll up to my parents' house, right? And this was 20, like 5 years ago, I think. Like my brother had just been born or something. Cops pull up to my parents' house, knock on the door. They like have a warrant to search the premises, and they say, there's an irregular number of calls that you receive on Sunday mornings. We think you're running a book. So they go through like my parents' like entire like financial data, all this shit like that. And my dad's literally like, dude, I run a home fantasy football league. Guys call me Sunday morning to set their lineups so that I can like
This is back before like iPhones and apps and shit like
yes,
that,
yeah.
right? So everything was on
Everything
the
was
phone.
a funny one. My mom says the internet took away all my dad's fun from fantasy football because he like had to set everyone's lineup. Tuesday morning, he would get the newspaper and he would hand tally everyone's stats and points and everything. Like, all right, Clinton Portis, 74 rushing yards and 1 touchdown. All right, that gets you this point, like this amount of points. And then he would like call everyone and like give the results of the week, essentially, right? So my dad used
That's
to,
what Jody told me his dad would do something like that
yeah,
too. That Jody Healing Roots, make sure you go check out healingroots.earth. He mending the relationship between humans and Mother Nature. But,
Yep.
quick plug there.
But yeah, no. So going from the cops knocking on your door because you got an abnormal amount of calls on Sunday morning to now getting sports betting shoved down your throat every time you want to watch a basketball game.
I
Crazy.
mean, now we have I feel like now that's not even considered I've seen work like work groups of people doing fantasy football. It's like, everyone throws $20 at the end of the season. You might have lost 20 or made 200.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, okay, but most people are betting probably hundreds of dollars a day on these games. So, if I lost $200 over the course of a full NFL season gambling, then I'd say that's not a bad season.
Right, exactly. And there's a big difference, right? Like you throw $10 on a game because you're watching with your buddies and you want to be more invested in the game, right? That's not ruining anyone, right? It's when you like win a little bit and you're like, wait a second, if I just bet $100 instead of $10, I'd be winning so much more. Then you start losing and then you start trying to
Chasing your losses.
chasing your losses, and that's where the cycle becomes deadly for people. But if Disney fucks up NFL Red Zone, though, it'll be worse than January 6th. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
We'll storm
We'll storm
Orlando.
the capital of ESPN.
Storm the Magic Kingdom.
All right. Storm the Fed. That's pretty good. All right. I think we move on here. Probably going to be our last topic of discussion for today. This is a graph that's been going around. I've seen it even more in like right-wing circles, even more, but this is definitely a left and right issue for sure. The graph is marital status and home ownership, I think, of people in their 30s in the United States. Starts at like 1950, goes to today, and it starts off, I think, around like 50-ish%, maybe a little bit more, of people who are married and a homeowner at 30 years old. And then you just watch the graph go down and down and down and down. And it was something crazy low, like 11% of something of people today are 30 years old and own a home in the United States. So there's two parts to it, obviously. One is just the home ownership aspect, becoming harder and harder for people to own a home. Homes are becoming more expensive. Job pay has stagnated in relation to inflation. Hey, there we go. Now we're
there we go. Took me a minute.
now we're
Got
a
it.
professional podcast here. So that's the one side. The other side being just changing cultural norms in terms of marriage, right? Like people are getting married later. Some people are deciding not to get married at all. Things like that. So yeah, you want to hop in with some initial thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, so this is definitely a bad trend, I think, for the it depends on how you're looking at it. Like, someone on an individual level can be like, okay, but I can afford a home if I wanted to, and I just can get married if I wanted to, and I just simply don't want to. And it should be my freedom to not do that if I don't want to. And it's like, yeah, absolutely it is. But the entire idea of moving our society forward relies on like a stable base And these are both of these, home ownership and marriage, are both, in my opinion, like fundamental metrics that directly drive all of the other stuff. So like as we want to continue advancing our technology and increasing our quality of life, and expanding opportunities for everyone, and all of these different things that we're doing that are, I guess, optimizing for just growth and overall happiness, quality of life, fulfillment. A lot of these are two major metrics, I think, that are the foundation of these. Home ownership, for the very purpose of how do we expect people to actually care, or actually want to wake up and go to work every day, or sacrifice for the future when they have no investment in the future. That's one big part of home ownership, is being invested. When you own part of the country, then you care a lot more about the collective society and the things. You care more about your neighborhood. You want to, you're thinking long term.
And same thing with
It's
having a kid, right? That's an investment
same thing.
in the future as well.
Same thing, and same, yes, and obviously not in all cases, but marriage rates are definitely correlated with birth rates, maybe not directly proportionally, but marriage is an institution that's designed for the raising of a kid. And so if those rates are going down, I would be willing to bet that the birth rates are going down, which I know they are. And so it's like these marriage as an institution is another one that's kind of designed for the stability of the system. And we sit around and we wonder why everyone's freaking out. Why is there such a political division where you've got radical leftists, radical right wingers all fighting all the time? Every day seems like a crisis. Everyone's panicking. Everyone's complaining about prices, jobs. Everyone's mad at the billionaires. Other people are mad at the people on welfare. Everyone's constantly fighting, and it's because no one can afford a home. It's like, and that's a systemic problem that needs to be addressed. And I mean, Trump seems to be trying to address it, but it hasn't worked so far. I mean, it is early. I mean, what do you think? I guess we should be solution oriented. I
Yeah,
think it's unproductive
yeah.
to be problem oriented. If we were solution oriented, what do you think are some ways we can maybe start steering this in a better direction?
I think there's one really good answer to that, and I'll build to it a little bit. I watched like a 30 or 40-minute video on why homes are so expensive now and why less people own homes, right? And he went through essentially like 4 or 5 different like topics. I forget exactly what they were. So one of them is, he's like, some people believe private equity is fucking all of this up, right? Like private equity is going around sucking up all of the single family homes, essentially holding them hostage, since if you own like 60% of the homes in a certain area, right, you can control what that home sells for. Because if a different home sells for less, then that lowers all of your property value, right? So people are thinking like, oh, these people are just holding these homes, not selling them, leaving them vacant in order to keep their potential earnings higher, right? And people are blaming private equity. The guy's like, well, that's not really any, I forget exactly why it wasn't like a huge issue, but he says like that isn't really like a huge issue. Basically, what his breakdown built to at the end, we've stopped building homes. Like since like the 70s or something, our production of houses has like totally shot down like super far. One of the most simple solutions, it's right there, build more fucking houses. All right, there's not enough houses for enough people, build more single family homes, increase the supply so that in theory like prices can go down. That's one solution that I think is pretty obvious.
Yeah, no, I mean that does seem pretty obvious. You would think that in that case there would be a huge market opportunity for companies to just start building houses. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I work in construction. Me and a buddy of mine are actually have been kind of pondering the idea of starting a residential construction, kind of a side gig. Um, I know a few people who do residential construction, and that's definitely a major part of the problem, is that obvious is supply and demand. The other one is the interest rates, whereas interest rates, it's not that they're too high now. Trump's online saying they need to lower them now. They need to lower them now. I think Jerome Powell has uh, legitimate reason to not lower them. In times of volatility, you might not want to do that. But the problem is that it's not that they're too high now, it's that they've been too low for too long before. And so everyone who bought houses locked them in at a very low interest rate. Now you've got the boomers who are all empty nesters at this point and probably live in a 5, 6 bedroom house,
Yes.
and all their kids have moved out and there's only two of them. Normally, they would sell that house and downsize, get a cheaper house to live in, and because they don't need this big house anymore, and then the late 20s, early 30s couple who's starting a family is going to buy that house. But what's happening is they're not going to do that because the interest rates are too high. They'll be paying more money for a smaller, less valuable house than they are paying for their big massive house. Why would they sell it? If the interest rates come down, I would think that you see a flood of houses in the market open up for sale and the prices go down. But that could also be a bad thing too if that happens too fast and houses all crash, because most people's wealth is built into their house. Like most people who've been, someone who's in their 50s or 60s who has, looks at their net worth, most of that net worth that their savings is actually money that they've invested into their house. And so if those all come down, now all of a sudden people are having to retire later and all types of problems there too. So it's another one of those sticky situations where, like, if the houses are priced too high, and if they stay that high, no one in our generation can afford a house. But if they come down too much, then a lot of people lose all of their savings. So
Yeah,
it's
no,
a real, like,
and
it's a generational battle kind of.
And then here's the other thing. If interest rates go down like dramatically, some people are going to be able to get houses at better interest rates, but the big fucking conglomerates are just going to buy up all the houses at that point. It's like, oh, hang on, like
Yep,
we have
that's
an
a good point.
incredibly good investment opportunity right now. Interest rates are at like 1.5%, whatever. I don't know exactly like the number that it would hit that would drive investment, but then that would just cause more of an issue of, all right, like now even more houses are owned by such a select few groups of people, essentially.
Yeah, it does seem like it's the idea of you'll own nothing and be happy, where all these private equity firms would like to just own all the property and then you could just rent it from
it,
them.
it does kind of feel like, yeah, they want to create a permanent renter class, essentially. Like you
Hmm.
will, it's like, oh, it's, dude, I saw some news article, some news like report on TikTok about this, like, and someone's on there trying to justify it. Some like fucking idiot. Like, this is the American dream right here. It's like this is what millennials want. Millennials don't want to be bogged down like owning things and having a mortgage. They want to just move right in and be able to rent it for however long they choose and move on whenever they choose. It's like, dude, you're fucking talking out of your ass. Like, that's not the American dream. The American dream is, like you said, owning a piece of fucking land, having a plot of land to yourself that you can call your own, that you would then actually give a shit about the future of America in.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I mean, I think that's like a fundamental thing of why America has done so well in their growth and prosperity over the last couple 100 years, and it's what set them apart from the other European countries back 200 years ago, was that all these European countries were still dealing with all of the kind of like the monarchy and the feudal system and the lords, where most of the population didn't own anything. They were just indentured servants, or they just worked basically for rent to live on someone else's land. And America, the new land that they found, it was like, oh yeah, land of opportunity, because you can come here and you can buy land and own land and you can build your own empire. You're not subject to like a king or a government that owns all the land. Now here the government doesn't own all the land, but if we have we've talked about this a lot before, but if we do end up in a situation where there's an oligarchy of 5 or 6 major companies that own all of the land, literally, then it's the same thing. Then we've devolved back into the old monarchy, authoritarian systems of the past. It's all about having some ownership. Otherwise, why would I give a shit about the quality of anything I do if I have no stake in the outcome? You know,
Have you seen that company towns are coming back?
company towns. Oh, like
Yeah.
it's like the Facebook campus or something,
Yeah,
like the Facebook
or
town.
like the Amazon campus, right? It's like, all right, so you work at the Amazon store, But luckily, there's like the Amazon grocery store there, so you can apply your like working credits towards the Amazon grocery store, you, like save a little bit. And oh, actually, luckily, we just built these like high-rise apartment complexes, so you can live like right next to your
Yeah,
work,
you
and
could pay us rent. Yeah,
you
yeah.
can pay us rent, right? And so they're like, all
You
right,
could
like
just work for free, and then you could just work, and then you don't even have to worry about getting a paycheck because we could just take all of your income right back and
yeah.
give you a house and food in return. Yeah.
Right. You can just work for us for the rest of your life. You can live in our house and you can buy our food, and yeah, it's perfect.
That is a thing that is part of the reason why I bet a lot of housing is still uh too expensive too, is because there is a lot of companies, I mean those big tech companies, probably the major ones, but then others too, where like the so many people, I know a ton of people are doing this, who are just living like they don't actually like get paid and then go buy their own house or go find an apartment to rent. It's just like part of the deal is that they get to live in the apartment building that the company owns, like stuff like that.
So
So it's like
it
so
makes
many people are
sense.
just living in company owned apartments and stuff, which does make sense if it's like a company where they need you to travel or
Yeah,
something.
I was
Yes,
gonna
of course,
say I was gonna say like
but I feel like more and
travel
more are,
nurses, right? Like you go to
yeah.
like a new town for like 6 months and they'll like find an apartment for you, right? In some aspects it makes sense, but in the terms of like the Amazon company towns, like you can see exactly where that's headed.
Yeah, right. Like I'm in construction, so it's similar to that where it's like, oh, we've got a project in this town, and the project is like a 2 year job or a 1 year job. So it's like, okay, like the company's just gonna set you up in a place that they've got there, But then I've seen it, so in other companies, in other industries where like, you know, they might be recruiting, because nowadays like it used to be you go in for an interview, you go in, and now like all interviews are done via Teams, and so the recruitment effort has gone national, if not global. And so if someone has a headquarters in Chicago, they're not only going to recruit people who live in Chicago, they're going to recruit from everywhere, try to find the best candidate. They might find someone who lives in Florida, and
Hmm.
part of the deal that they offer them is, you get your salary benefits, and also like you can live here we have a bunch of apartments that we own, you can live here. And so like I think more and more people are doing that, and eventually the companies just own all of the apartments in the cities.
So yeah, bleak.
So, what do we think about the marriage one, though? What do we think about the
Okay.
marriage one?
Okay,
That
yeah. Yeah,
that one I
good.
think is a separate issue.
It is.
I think the
Good
homes is
question.
definitely economic, financial.
Yep.
I think the marriage has got to be cultural a little bit too. I think that's a big part of it.
Well, it's mostly cultural. We'll dip into cultural. I think marriage is also kind of economic as well. Just because, all right, we are if you're paying a good percentage of your salary in rent, which a lot of people in our generation do, you can't really save up that nest egg to then be able to go get married, buy a house, raise two and a half kids, right? So I think it like the marriage is kind of an economic issue as well. Since we're not as prosperous, we can't take that leap essentially into adulthood.
Yeah, they definitely do go hand in hand.
But
I think the cultural aspect.
let's
I
go to
mean,
cultural though, yeah.
yeah, well, I mean that it kind of goes hand in hand too. I mean the cultural aspect. I think part of it is that there is systems, and we were talking earlier about how it sounds like being a couple of white males here, it sounds kind of like a whiny, bitchy thing to say, but just looking at pure data, I'm not talking about myself. Looking at pure data, the 20 the male in their 20s is going through a bit of a decline compared to historical data. Where I think you mentioned earlier, what something about um, if you got that stat you pulled up
I got
before we
men
started
at
about.
20 to 24 double the rate of unemployment as women in the same age group.
Yeah, and there's a ton of others that I've seen like that I'm not gonna be able to remember offhand, but it's the suicide rate is higher, the mental health issues are higher. There's all these problems. Women are doing better in school. Women are getting more of the jobs, like you said. So all of these problems, and I think part of it comes to the idea it's not really a cultural thing. This part of it, it's more of a systemic, institutional problem, which is that the systems are still designed for a a marriage where the man is the breadwinner, and the woman is the homemaker, right? And so when you see like a lot of like the no fault divorce laws and a lot of these laws around marriage that kind of disincentivize the man and the woman from being married and staying married, and then we look at a stat like this and we're like, okay, well, that's not a good thing. But I think it's because culturally we've evolved. Now, I think we've evolved in a good way culturally, somewhat, when it comes to like women being able to have more opportunities. And it's not just this like kind of stigma of like the woman should stay home, the man should work. I think it should be up to whoever, it should be up to the woman. They want to work, they want to work, go ahead. Everyone should do what they want to do. But as women are, if the unemployment rate is higher for the men, we need to change the laws because the laws were made when women didn't work and the men worked, and so part of that is that there's just a very there's not a good incentive structure to get married anymore legally. On top of that, I think our dopamine levels are fried by all the social media and constant like stimulation that we get, that we no longer have that like that feeling that maybe someone in the 40s and 50s used to have, where it was just like my wife and kids are the only thing that matter, like I never think about anything else. And now we're constantly being like bombarded with all this nonsense, that it feels like that connection that people used to have maybe in the 40s, 50s, 60s is gone. Or
Yeah.
not gone, but it's not nearly as powerful.
Our generation has less sex than any other previous generation at our age. And it's kind of a crazy thing to think about because you'd think that social media has brought us closer together. You'd think that these dating apps, like, oh, like maybe you live in like a small town and it's like kind of hard to like find a match. Like, all right, like I can match with someone 40 miles away, right? And you think that that would help increase the amount of, relationships and marriages and whatnot. Really, I think it's kind of done the opposite, wherein you go on Tinder, Hinge, whatever, and you realize like, oh, there's 100,000 other people out there. It's like, why should I, like put in so much effort into this one person if like I'm not gonna get that back if like I can just find someone else like immediately, right? There's thousands and thousands of people on these apps. Like I'll be able to find someone else, right? Back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, whatever, you'd go to like your small town bar and there's like three chicks your age there, right? It's like, all right, I gotta talk to like one of these people, like otherwise I'm not gonna meet someone, right? Having like
Yeah, then you go to work at the steel mill. Then you go to work at
right,
the steel mill, and
having
you
having
might see two attractive women per year. you know?
having a more restrictive dating pool actually might increase the amount of relationships, and that's like
It
antithetical.
makes sense.
You would think that it wouldn't work that way, but I kind of think it does.
No, it's counterintuitive, but it makes sense.
Yes.
Have you heard this before? It's like a psychology thing about how like if you go to an ice cream store, or an ice cream shop, I mean, and there's like chocolate or vanilla, versus if there's like 35 flavors, it actually like stresses you out, that
It's the
you're less.
paradox of choice. That's what it's
The
called.
paradox of choice, and that, yeah, that might be what it is. I mean, that it might be that on a massive scale, but just the paradox of choice. You got Tinder now. You could swipe through a catalog of every woman in your area, and so now you don't want to settle down with one. Kind of makes sense. I mean,
All
but
right.
at the same time, it's like it's not good. Like you should. That's not good for anyone in the long run. It's, it might be fun in college to try to, play your options and see what, but like at some point, as a collective, there needs to be some form of like monogamous institutions to better the next generation, because otherwise, I mean, think about how chaotic it could be if the institution of marriage declines to a point where it's like uncommon. I feel like that would be a bad, or
Yeah.
a very weird and probably not good future.
Yeah, and might have brought this one up on the podcast before, but there's a meme like months ago that was going around. It was like dudes used to go to war over the one attractive chick in
Mhm.
their town. Like, like it's like the whole Trojan War was fought over Helen of Troy, like the one hot chick in the entire like Mediterranean. It's like, and now it's like, oh, like I can find that anywhere. So yeah, it's
Now everyone just all these guys just go on OnlyFans. These OnlyFans chicks are making insane amounts of money too. I was looking at
all the power to
some of
them.
the stats. I
I
mean, yeah, no, I'm not hating on them either.
Yeah,
Who I'm hating on is the people who are going on there and dropping all this money on like nonsense like that. That's so ridiculous. I feel like that I would feel like so ashamed if I
yeah,
did, if I was doing that.
dude, that's another just like dopamine trap,
Yeah, I mean,
essentially.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's another form of hedonism, very similar to the gambling thing,
Yeah,
honestly.
for sure.
But yeah, I mean there was something I had about the marriage thing, but I'm kind of forgetting what it was. But
Yeah. I think that's about a good time to call it.
yeah, we got hour and a half here. All right,
Yeah.
not bad. All
Sounds
right,
good.
that was a good one. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. See you next time.